children. Social media influencer. On their platforms, you can find me on David Ewagata. On my Facebook, Nico. It's still the largest platform for social media. Like it or not, if you want corporate, go on Facebook. Yeah, if you want serious, yeah, simple. LinkedIn, ukitaka career growth and jobs and all that, profile, building your online profile for work, LinkedIn, all right? IG, okay, because of the uniqueness of my name, you just have to look for Ewagata on any platform. If you don't find me, you'll find a cousin of mine at worst, but otherwise it's me or my children. Right? My spouse. So just Ewagata, David Ewagata on IG, David Ewagata on Facebook, David Ewagata on TikTok, David Ewagata on search, wherever you search. At Google, if you Google David Ewagata, I'll still be the one who shows up. As I told you, there's only like 16 of us in the universe, and all of them are closely related to me. Yes. Sio kama Nerito, lazima Nerito. Joy _ hyphen. All right. Yeah. You didn't believe I'm on Google? Yeah, we are. Yeah, so please introduce yourself. Kofiti. Yes. Kofaya.
Online viewers cannot relate. I'm sorry.
You shall not condone violence. Yes.
Yes.
Things are getting hairy.
You too.
Naitwa Keith Baraka. Mimi ni content creator, lakini mimi ni writer. Niko na blog naitwa Bright Bite Chronicles.
Sema kitu moja.
Sirap Bite Chronicles, I talk about cybersecurity and everything cybersecurity. Hiyo iko blogspot.
Hiyo juu.
Wengine iko blogspot. Now, I'm working on a platform yangu sasa. But yeah, for now iko blogspot. Alafu kwa YouTube niko na Pizza Technologies. I do coding classes. Ni hayo tu. IG napiganga picha tu naeka hapo. Picha ya chakula, picha ya nzi, you name it. Pale. And then niko na duka inaitwa Pizza Gadgets hapo hivyo Platinum Plaza F40 na iko na its socials inaitwa TikTok na IG na Pizza Gadgets bado. Ni hivyo tu, mimi sina mambo mengi.
Yes.
Okay. So my job here is to just make sure that I break down for us the things that he's going to be saying.
Wow.
He's the deep guy. He's the deep guy here. I want to talk about, I think this is one of the most visible generations. Visible in terms of you're not content consumers, you're actually content creators. So when you talk about how many of us produce something online and reach, easily more people than possibly your church or your school even has, quite a number will show up above those numbers, because anytime you post something, depending on how it's taken, some of us reach upwards of 1,000 people every week, 10,000, 100,000. I met a guy here who had over 100,000 followers on TikTok, just doing evangelistic messages. He had a very husky voice, sounded like, in fact, his friends used to call him Reinhard Bonke. And he would just take 30-second clips and just talk about the need for you to receive Christ. And he led so many people to Christ just through 30-second TikTok messages on the gospel. Some of us, may not have as huge numbers, but we still have our influence. And so when we talk about social media influencers, all of us have a piece of the pie. True or false? All right? Even if it's just, you went to visit a friend and you had a good meal, kapiga picha, having a good time with farm. All right? But how do we tie? And for some of us who get very engaged in this area of social media, I remember one of my former students is now one of those big social media influencers, even getting corporates to invite her to come and, showcase something. The other day she was doing cars, Range Rover. No, unajua tukusugia na DL, lakini ameingia kwa Range Rover. Others, okay, sitasema tena. Others are doing houses. Somebody is selling a house, you just come in, walk in, show them this is the sitting room, this is the dining, there's a balcony. And they are making their impact and making their money as they go. Yeah, thank God for being in nature. Outdoors. Thank God you're not in Australia because of how big Australia. Alright? Guys who are big, allow them now to step into the place of now being invited to do this social media, ads and all that. Then there are guys who just show up on social media because either they did something in their song, they are music artists. So that's the previous influencers. When you are gospel artists or secular artists, you know them because of their songs. But then you discover afterwards that they do so well, but then depending on how they handle their fame, depending on how many invites they have and how they bargain for their chips, some of them may be famous out there but have no income. And this was a big reality and still is a big reality, especially because the social arts are just becoming more acceptable and more well-paying than they were before. Initially, guys whose music rang the airwaves in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, maybe 2000s now it started making sense. But 80s, 90s, in Africa, where the choir, you hope and pray that you will survive to see the next day. And so a lot of us, if you are, in your parents' generation, you'll be told, forget about that thing you are doing at a social media influencer attitude, that you are doing perfumes, if you are doing clothes, if you are doing scents. That is scent what?
Scent reviews.
Scent reviews. Yeah. Just find a life, my dear, find a life. So now it's becoming more lucrative, but then there are people who are famous, but they don't have the resources. And this was a big thing. I remember when the gospel music industry, because it became an industry at some point, was quite huge. And some of these artists, their songs were playing literally back to back in different stations. But then when it comes to pay, they are getting close to nothing. And I remember they had a huge fight with Safaricom and Skiza Tunes and, what are they called? This, I think they're called CBOs or what. These guys who are handling the back end of advertising and selling their music. And the go-betweens would make money. Safaricom, of course, made its money. Skiza Tunes blew its money. But the artist, the face, the talent, the real person didn't make much. And I remember at some point Safaricom actually opened the back end because there was too much noise, and of course the gospel music artists were a big deal in the 2010s, 2015, coming 2020. So they opened the back end and said, see how much we've paid to Skiza Tune based on the listenership of your songs. Let's get your space. you have made, I think, one of the top, not even the top artists, the moderate artists, her back end had made close to 800 million for Safaricom. That is 0.2 to a billion. Like even if they gave you a tithe, you'll be sitting here telling us, coffee? And sandwiches? Get the service. Yeah. And that time, I think she had been paid, when she had really made noise, she was given a check of 5M. Of course, after you have suffered for a little while, ukipewa 5M, unaenda unajengea madhe hao shago, unalipa rent arrears, you are the 1 year that you've been struggling, and then you realize, hiya, it's over. And so this was the reality. That's a reality of many people who are either in social media, you don't know how to monetize your influence, you don't know how to leverage your talent or your profile so that you can make the money from it. And so you either have a strong brand and no income, or you give up because you've been pushing. Just when you're about to get there, you're like, let me go back and just do sales and marketing straight up. So many guys you see get to a point and then leave because it's not paying. And so how do we then turn our influence into income? 1, 2, how do we maintain our integrity? Because he does cyber security. And what does that entail? You know, your information. How are you safe online? What is your profile like? Now people don't ask you to show them your JD. They just go online and look at your profile and look at your posts and look at everything, and they determine who you are and whether you're employable or not. Alright? And so how do you guard your footprint? And thirdly, how do you then push your brand while keeping your integrity, your faith, and your values in check? Whether guys come and tell you, here is $500,000. We just need you to pop your face in this ad. Don't ask us what the ad is all about. We just need your face. So, Kate, over to you. You can start from, how do we leverage influence or income? Or both. Yeah? How do you move from one to the other without losing? Or how do you make sure that you get your income but you don't compromise your face?
Kila mtu anajua je integrity, sio? All of it. All of it. We all know about integrity, sio? Narudi hapo, we'll circle back. I have a question before we start. If you were to be an influencer, who would it be and why? Yes.
What kind?
If you were to, who ungemwili, I'm saying.
I would be, if I would choose, I would be Elton Mason.
Asema
Elton Mason, he's a supermodel. Elton,
Who is? This is the first picture. Ah, Panda.
Okay, you say Elton Mason, Why?
Because of the kind of model he became. Like the way he grew from being from nothingness to like starting like shows for Burberry, for Nini. As a person, I don't know who he is, but his journey.
So from down, starting from the bottom, now we're here.
Now he's there.
Sawa.
Mine is because of the influence she has. She can tell people to buy a walking pad, and everyone in the country will buy a walking pad. See, at nani umeona
Murugimunyi tu.
mutampata tu kwa social media.
Sawa, tamtafuta.
Relevant.
Aha.
Yeah.
Nanji.
Yeah, Nancy.
What does she do?
She does almost everything, and I just love how her page
Active
also
and
vibrant.
alive.
And very consistent. Exactly.
Consistent.
For me, I'd say
Kawera Gashugi umetajwa, tafadhali like, follow, subscribe. Why?
because of how she is as a person, how she uses wisdom, and how she knows how to like she has a passion for both ministry, mental health, and like speaking wisdom and speaking life into people's lives, regardless of who you are.
So her character, her wisdom, her faith,
Yes.
and just speaking wisdom into it. God bless you. Upande? Yes? No, give us an answer first. Mwalimu haya question umeje example. Sawa, uliza.
Before you answer,
So I wanted to ask, because there are some people who are very influential, but their social media presence is not. So I was asking, there are some people who are very influential, but their social media presence maybe it's not maybe as much, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's not like focus yao si ku influence like hizo like kama influencer wengine naona maybe it's their career inaweka like maybe a musician anaweza kuwa na post tu like kuonesha tu okay this is where we are but aiko hiyo si make focal point yao it's their music is their content mostly so tutaje kama hao pia
Mimi nataka influencer.
Mwalimu amesema ndio.
Unajitaja.
mwalimu
Unaweza jitaja lakini.
just influence.
Hiyo umepata.
On all social media
Give
platforms.
us a name.
Jesus and
Again,
Christ.
again simulator.
I think kwenye nilikuwa na follow up na what they were doing so much the kitambo kiasi kwa maybe wabosha but sijui kitu amekuwa kipost yeah so sijakuanga online sana so sijui but amekuwa akifanya kazi poa sana like I like how she has grown akianza kufundisha watu makeup kupaka makeup from vitu za Dubois mpaka saa hii kwa tu level ingine like the growth and the consistency I like that sasa when uko Kenya utani stress
Ulikuwa unatumia kijana kuhusu Chanel.
so yeah
Kuna point hapo.
Nani amesema Dubai? Haya. So before I pass it over to Mwalimu, I'd like to say my favorite, the person I would want to be, he's an influencer and he's on all social media platforms, is just Ken. Ken, just Ken. He's
Just Ken ama Ken.
no, Ken, Ken, just like that. He's this guy from
Ken.
Australia.
Ken.
He does content creation, and then he starts saying how should, like his content is basically how should Christian content creators be or behave, and how they should also scale themselves without losing their authenticity. Hata kuna whole Discord group where people share their stuff. So good. Right?
Discord is a social media for gamers. Wacha tuwa.
Sio tusiwaambie hivyo bana.
For me, it's a girl called Ainsley because the girl can turn any piece of clothing to a designer piece. Like, at a see must like from brands or anything. Like, amefika league kuunda design zake kupa kama brand, but it's just she collects any piece of clothing or anything in general, hata hiyo maua ataitengeneza into a fit na ikaipwa. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's late.
Mine would be Abel Mutua.
Ukiuliza wameniko huko.
Because of how he knows how to interact with people, both online and in person. And also Chris Njoki from Icon. I think she understands fashion so well and how she makes the outfits.
Awesome.
Just to cut
Thank
to
you.
it that I don't know Kenyan influencers.
Hakuna mtu amesema Njugush.
So for me, I'll choose two. One is Yawera's husband, Moji. He has used his platform in so much, in a very good way. He gets so many brand endorsements. And the second one is Michael Mufiga. I know you only know him as Capinto, the animator. So he was the first guy. Yeah, the creator is called Michael Mufiga, Fatboy Animations. So he chose that niche to make those animations, and he got so many brand endorsements, Safaricom, Fiber, and so much more.
Yeah.
Yes. I would be Wanjiru Chiru, Voice Children Cycle, because of how she does influence, but still she's so private with her life. Like, it's so cute. She balances it so well.
Awesome.
Sasa tukweli sasa. Kidogo tu. Hiyo mic imeenda. Inaitishwa kule mwisho.
Mike iko? Mimi nilikuwa na point.
Hi. I don't have like a specific influencer in mind, but most is YouTubers. So like if I would like say ni nani and inspire is a person who can talk about self-awareness, leveling up mentally, financially, like to like even spiritually, like there's this lady called, okay, she has this page called Winnie School of Elegance. She teaches ladies to be elegant. So like mtu mwenye anaweza kuwa na hizo vitu zote. So I don't think there's one person who can influence you to do everything. So like maybe I pick elegance from Winnie, I pick spiritual from somebody else, and then Eva, and then all of them make up, like they help me to carry.
Asante sana. It's funny how nimeshika elegance from Winnie lakini sijui wa Kenya. Which is well. So kuna swali hili. Have you ever posted something? IG, Facebook for Pasiya. Wherever. And then the first thing you do after when we post, hiyo saa like hata minute haijaisha. You're checking whether it's been liked. Why do we do that?
We're all addicted to likes, eh?
Like why do we do
Nikuona
that?
tu kama nikuona kama umerich audience. Unajua kweli kama unajiongelesha tu na hakuna mtu ana
Kazi inatoka. So we need to see if you are making progress.
Si
We need to work on
validation.
something or not.
Okay. So how many of you delete it ikifika maybe 6 hours na hauna maybe like
Unaacha hapo.
maybe haujafika hata 50 likes. Umegonga 6 hours.
Umeshaenda push back.
Wamesema patropathy.
Apart from Pasi na Pasi.
Hapo pia msi.
So tunaishi kwa generation yenye we can make millions, even billions with our socials, ndio? But wacha tu divide before tuende kwa income influence ikiingiana fiti. Hiyo deal ikiivana income itakuja, si ndio? But yes, actually. Tunatafutanga influence. We want to get to a specific audience or number for us to generate a specified income. Sindio?
Yeah.
So you have to get to the people. You have to influence. Sindio? So what is the difference between wanting to make a positive
I
impact?
have a question.
Awe ngoja kwanza. Weka mic hapa kwanza.
Okay.
I don't know if influence na following zina adapt to the same thing.
No.
Because kuna people who can have a huge following, but they don't necessarily have influence. I think influence.
Everyone is an influencer. But in terms of
I'm saying in terms of posting, not in life, like in terms of posting and following in maybe social media platforms.
Okay, so influence and followership is not the same thing. Unaweza kuwa na followers kibao. Ask me, I know. I have my company account has around 10,000 followers. But nitakwambia for free, I do not have that level of influence in their lives. So, what's the difference between wanting to make a positive impact and wanting to be famous?
haiwezi kuwa both.
Unaweza kuwa both, but iko na difference. What's the difference?
Asked for the mic.
Just say hi. Say hi.
Hello guys, hi Jenna. I think fame just means you want to have impact no matter what way it comes, whether that's positive, negative, whether it comes from doing something that you don't pride yourself in for the fame specifically. It's to be known, no matter which way it is to be known. Having positive impact doesn't necessarily have to come with fame as well. You can have positive impact in a small crowd, and that positive impact is like a ripple effect, whereby you've impacted somebody's life so much positively that their life is reflecting that positivity and also going around impacting, which also grows the positive impactiness. Like you're impacting more and more, and still positively, even though it's not direct impact. Whereby fame, it's not necessarily usually like that. Fame is usually from you to the person who is making you famous most of the time. More often than not, fame is not reciprocated. Like, I can't be famous by you knowing me and then him knowing you by association, but I can have a positive impact by you knowing me and then him knowing you by association, because that's the impact is ripple effecting. Yeah.
Aside from huyu mwenye ako clearly very deep, who else?
Yeah.
Famous, I think, is self-centered. Then the other one, impact, is people-centered.
Kuna swali ilikuwa ni nini?
Swali ilikuwa, what's the difference between positive impact
And fame.
and fame?
Unaongeza mafuta ndio mafuta yenye nitaongeza.
I think, let me echo what Molimo has said. For fame, it's both positive, it can be both positive and negative impact.
in that whether they like you or not, they like you, if that makes sense. Like whether they like your content or not. I don't know, like for example, most of the music we listen to, I don't want to mention names, but their music guys go to because they want to see how bad it is. Like there are music that for real in ya ukweli kuna music yenye ni mbaya but watu wanaenda kuona the badness. So that's also fame. Like so yeah, basically for fame, they like you but they don't like they just want to see your content. Okay, start bear the example, but yeah, that's basically for fame.
You're famous for family.
You're just famous, whether it's you're doing, not really, you're just famous for either you're doing good or not. Because you are your music, unaweza kuwa umejua hizi views zote ujui basi wamekuja kuona vile wa producers juu alikuwa kazi ya mali kwa bila music. Yeah, and then positive impact you can. Yeah, I think I have explained. Let me
So basically we are looking at fame doesn't have to do with others, it has to do with me. If my aim is to be famous, I'll do anything to be famous.
But what if I want to be famous with a positive impact?
So that is what is called impact.
Lakini hiyo si
So
personal.
that's why we are asking two things.
Si hiyo si
Is
personal.
it about impact or is it about fame? So choose one.
I beg to give, I choose to.
What's the difference between positive impact and fame?
Sasa positive impact inaweza kuwa kwa fame.
So the aim of the person who is going for positive impact is not to be famous. If they end up being famous, that's a bonus, but it was not their aim. The person who's going for fame is like, what can I do to be known, to be waved at on the road, to be greeted, to have 1 million likes on my tweet. Alright? Hautaki kuelewa wewe, lakini weka tu hapo utakuona baada ya sana. Alright? So that's it's and this is the struggle of social media, because social media has one direct impact in this sense, that people know you. Whether you are happy when you posted it, whether it was even representing you, or it was just something that you wrote and suddenly it gathered, following. And sometimes people do that. But if the aim of this person was not to be famous, and they really felt in their hearts, I need to say this because this is true, and he says it and it has a following, the next day if he says something else and there is no following, he's not stressed. Lakini kama unatafuta fame, ndio uko hapo 2 minutes after kupost, ni kama ya jana. Hawakumbuki ni nini. So check your heart. Hey, just check your heart. Alright? Ukona jambo la kusema?
Yeah, it's just very quick, just to echo on what you had explained earlier. Yeah? Basically, you can have both, right? This is mainly for Joy, but for all.
Yes, you can have both. Thank you, Walimu.
I got you. So you can have both, but what he is saying is, when it's positive impact, the first thing you're thinking about is positive impact. If fame comes with it, well and good, you're not complaining. If it's fame, the first thing you're thinking about is, how do I get famous? If that way is positive impact, well and good. But what I'm thinking of is, how can I be known? Yeah, that was it.
Nimeelewa sasa.
Super school fees hapo.
Tumekeza macho bwana. Haya. Did you know all of us are influencers? Kuna mtu amesema hivyo. Kila mtu ni influencer. Hata kama uko na followers 23. Hata kama uko na followers 23, you're still an influencer. You know that, right? Hata kama ni watano by the way.
Wow, tano when influence.
Yes, when influencer. Mtu amini wakubwa walikuwa wanajua nikawa wanajua vitu nyingi sana hivi. Mimi sijaelewa. Kama ni hata sasa.
Meditate on the word of the Lord. But
tuliambiwa you are the light of the world. Not you might be.
You are.
But you are. Not try to be.
You are.
You are. Sindio? And the fact that tuliambiwa we are the light of the world, si tunafaa kuemulate that fact. Mbona tunakuwaga we try?
Okay.
And the reality is that I like the way you put it. We are not trying to be the light. We are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. And the reality is that we have to ask ourselves, what are we exuding? So you're the swali. What is the quality of your light or influence? And how far does it go on the positive, the neutral, or the negative side? Right?
Mimi najua social media influencer mmoja hapa hivi na nitamwingililia leo. Kwani? Habari? Mimi enyewe sikuwa najua watu wengine wenye social media influencers. Hata niliuliza nikamwambia mimi najua wale. So wale. Sawa.
Social media influence.
So wale. Who influences your social and why? And
What?
who influences what you
Put out.
and why? And huyo mzee mwenye ana influence, yeye ni light.
So I should answer who influences what I mostly post, and then
Sio mtu ati mmoja because
there is actually there is a plethora of people. And
Sema tu watu wengi.
so go home. So what influences most of what mostly I post is actually I can say like 4 people. One is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ actually, because there is a certain I aim the aesthetic of the Bible I aim to put out is low-key spiritual. There's a spiritual side of it. There's a spiritual side in what I write about low-key. No, low-key. High-key. Jesus H. Christ.
Hallelujah.
Christ, Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi. He's a character. Tahiko Inoue, and then
those were real people.
He's an author. And finally, a guy I usually wacha
maswali zinatoka hapa mbele.
And for Fits actually 2 people on TikTok, Eddie and Life of St. Harris. And they Life of St. Harris. And I was saying, are they the light? One, Jesus Christ is the light, literal light of heaven, and the rest are in one way or another impacting their various fields. I aim to emulate what they give off. For example, with Eddie. Eddie is he's a very chill guy on TikTok who shows mostly his earthy fits. He's an earthy aesthetic kind of guy, and I like how he's so flawless with his fits. The layering, the color grading, everything's so flawless. And yeah, so yeah, that is what influences what I post. So when I post, I aim to, there is a vibe I'm going for. There is something I'm going for. So whenever I'm thinking of the caption of the videos, that is the thing that ring in my head. One, if Jesus saw this post, if he was reading that post, first of all, I couldn't have any profanities. I try as much as not young people.
As much.
No.
Not at all.
So I don't do profanities, and because again, there is something I'm going for. There is when I post, there's a vibe I want to get from this specific video. So yeah, and also by part, mostly of my philosophical content, Nietzsche influences a lot of it.
Nietzsche ni philosophy, si Nietzsche ni
Asante sana kwa hiyo siku.
So, si Mwananchi.
You want to honor God, no?
Yes.
But you also want to blow up.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
If you are in peke yake, kila mtu
Yeah, I
mwenyewe.
think bora ni mimi mnakati.
Nimevaa macho nne naangalia hizi yote.
Oh, okay. Na uko?
Hata hawa. We all want to blow up, but we also want to honor God.
There can be both.
Kuwa na composure.
Kumua.
Yeah, that's what it is out there.
Why is it that Christian content doesn't go as much viral as much as worldly content?
I have an answer for that. In my recent,
Tumia mic sio lollipop.
Tungo solambe mic
Give us the answer.
I recently was looking into that, exactly that, because I did two posts actually. One post it was purely spiritual, purely Christian content, and another one I did a neutral post that has no allegiance to any religion or any sort of teacher, right? I was actually doing a test, and interestingly, what doesn't really talk about the deep stuff. Anything that doesn't talk about God, doesn't talk about people's sins, or people, whatever people are doing. People like that. And interestingly, I think it's
Even Christians.
even
One's a Christian.
once a how. Kwa sababu how ndio wale wa such it. No.
Move on.
So I recently realized I'm a content that is ish. Content that is controversial, that is a scandal, that is chaotic. People gravitate towards that. Because look at Kenya. We make people, a person can't be famous just cause of a leaked video. And they are famous people.
Yeah.
And it is more easier for someone to do something stupid or something crazy so that they get that. On the other side, post kitu kipreach hapo, nagonga 2 likes hapo, but post ukiruka ama ukibishana na mse 50,000. So I came to a conclusion that it is in human nature to crave chaos. It is human nature to crave things that we are more relatable to things that don't even make sense. So easily tunapenda. So social media, it works better if you do crazy, nasty, things. But it's an issue.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
Sawa, Akambini. First and foremost, I know most of us have been in this situation where a TikTok video for like stayed for 2 minutes if you love God, alafu unapita, alafu una come back to it. And also I tend to think Christians don't like what is it called? They don't like to be told. Like if you're doing a sin, you don't want to be told. Now when someone tells you you're doing a sin, you know, see them as the op. It's like it's friendly fire, yet they are just telling you this is wrong. I am nilikuwa na point ingine nimesahau. Oh, okay. There's something in journalism we called news that goes out is supposed to be interest the public, not no. Guys. Basically it should be interest the public. But most of the time the content that people want to see is content that guy point okay, basically what I'm trying to say is they want content that is supposed to go out should be content that will affect the public in one way or the other. But also the content that in our Vukia, most of the time it gets traction. So that's what also happens in terms of Christian content and non-Christian content. This Christian content is what will benefit them. But wakisikia kuna scandal mahali ya sijui nani na nani walipatikana wapi, they will run quickly to that. So yeah.
Bad news travels fast.
Okay.
Mi namalizia tu haraka. Another reason I think I'm in the media space, I'm an animator. So I think also most Christian creatives, they're not creative. We just creative, you have good videos, and you're creative because God also puts the creativity in us. So ukiona wase kama kina KB, K to the second letter, anyone knows him? He's a Christian rapper. Like when you watch him, there's something that you get from him, and also their videos and stuff. So I think most of it to Christian content is not just that they don't want it. It's because they are like, these guys who will just guilt trip you. If you don't like this post, you're gonna whatever. Yeah. That is gonna happen to you.
As the mic goes round, let me pose this to us. Do you know that a majority our social media influencer anyway, as much as we say Christian social media influencers or bloggers or whatever are boring, I want to pose it to us that the majority of the most influential social media guys have a Christian background. They learned their skill inside church. Whether it's musicians, whether it's producers, whether it is artists, whether it is designers, whether it is sound. And if I was to give you a run through of the media influencers in this country, I can easily tell you 90% walitoka church. So the question is, what changes their trajectory when finally the influence meets the money?
The amount of people you can touch. To answer your question, a lot of people believe that they cannot reach as many people with Christian content than they can with non-Christian content. Not that it is demonic content, but if it's general content, maybe just about Kenya, for example, that's something 95% of Kenyans can relate to. It's just about Kenya. Or if it's a lifestyle type thing, whereby if it's Christian content, okay guys, these are not realistic estimates, okay? But whereby it's Christian content, there's so many different religions in Kenya. Let me say answer the question that you're stating.
Hallelujah. People are
Yeah. Okay. Now back to the point. What was your question before again?
Why
Why doesn't
Christian content
go viral?
fly?
As much as
Yeah.
non-Christian.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, I have a lot of points. Firstly, something that I believe either one of those two said, just to echo on what they said, is that a lot. Nimesahau, guys.
Nitasahau tena. Guys, just give me one. I'm so sorry. Just give me a second.
Okay, pressure. Pauline.
Loading data.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like why Christian content doesn't get out as much is, well, first of Christian content only impacts a niche certain group. So for example, if I'm Muslim and I see Christian content, I'm just scrolling. It doesn't matter. I'm just scrolling, right? Okay, this is again an assumption that I'm making. It's a stereotype I'm saying. It's not necessarily a fact per se, but that is what is expected. But also there is a lot, this is what I was gonna say. There's a lot of Christian content out there that is based on fame and not on positive impact, Christian impact. For example, those videos. What is the goal with those videos? It's not to touch you as a Christian, because if the goal was to touch you as a Christian, there would not be any need for, send this to 5 other people you love, otherwise you end up in hell. If it's something that has touched me, I will send it.
Yeah.
I will want to touch other people, right? But when it feels like it's murder, and then what makes it worse is a lot, because this is what a lot of Christian content is today. It's that type of content, and then it's like they try and guilt trip you. They tell you, if you don't send it to 5 people in the next 5 minutes, your mother will die, you will end up in hell. And in reality, okay, for me personally, I'll say it's not that I don't like Christian content. For me personally, it's not that I don't follow Christian content, it's that it's hard to find Christian content that speaks to you personally. A lot of people release Christian content for the fame and not for the impact that it's going to bring. You'll find a lot of people who are genuine, like, kuna vile unaweza ona someone is releasing this Christian content, like genuinely, maybe like they're speaking their views. I was reading the Bible and this is what I learned. You find such Christian content creators actually, like, as much as it's not as much as other content creators that are not here or there, they still go higher, like they still make it. Sorry, I've just seen the mic. Anyways, they still end up gaining traction. Also, the fact that there's let me say, Christian content is very niche, in the same way also black content is niche, or Hispanic content is niche, disabled content is niche. Like, there's a lot of niche. There's a lot of content out there that cannot necessarily impact the masses as people want it to. I think that goes back to my initial point of Christian content can't impact as many people as non-Christian content can, as in everyday content, not necessarily secular. Okay, my last point was something that I think Warren had said, whereby Christians, no, I think it was Joy. I don't know. Christians do not like to be confronted. Yes, we do not like to be told what we are doing is wrong, and we believe, when it can be at the type of thing where someone is trying to encourage you to do better, right, and not judge you, but especially Gen Zs. Gen Zs genuinely and wholeheartedly feel like, mimi maisha yangu ni yangu, you live your own life, let me live my own life, don't judge me. To them it looks like everything someone genuinely to better your life, unani judge. Like people genuinely just always feel attacked. They feel judged. They feel like, oh, you're discriminating upon them. Da, 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 da. And that's another big reason why a lot of Gen Zs are not very big in flaunting. Let me say flaunting their religion. That's another big reason why a lot of Gen Zs, you can't know if they're Christian or not until one church mbele. Oh, rakashata karebo shere. Lakini ukitoka church, whoa, the head is down like this until they leave the vicinity, and you find they don't even socialize in the vicinity of where their church is. People are not confident in their spirituality, and they're not confident. I'm talking about it, I'm really sorry. But you know how a recent thing that has happened in social media is whereby if I like a post and like Shalom is following, he can see that I liked the post, right? That has made Christian content go down a lot, because now it's like go up. Sorry guys, because now it's like, because I know my people will want to see what I've liked. Yeah, I'm going to just like, and it's not genuine, and it's not genuinely impacting. Yeah. So I think it's a myriad of things. Inaweza kuwa one thing, inaweza kuwa ni the fact of like familiarity pia.